Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome everyone to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. I am your host, Stephen Nooner.
And this is Bob Gibbons.
And we have a very special show for you today. But before we do, what is The Next Level? Why are we here? Let me set the stage. We are here to support the entrepreneurial community by just having fun and meaningful conversations where we can all learn from each other's experiences and grow by talking about the ideas and the raw, rugged world of entrepreneurship. Bob would you like to get our guests introduced?
No, I want to keep you going.
Yeah, because I'm doing so great.
Well, I'm excited about today. You talk about raw entrepreneurship. We got some serious information to learn from Jeff Kacines today. Jeff is our guest, and his company is Haute Decor. I hope I'm saying that right. And Jeff is an inventor, an entrepreneur, an engineer, and yet he's very risk averse. And somehow that doesn't all seem to go together, but we'll talk about that today. If you'd like to learn more about his company, you can go to his website at hautedecor.com, and that's HAUTE-DECOR.com.
That's very fancy pronunciation there.
Well, how would you say Haute? Hot?
I guess that's what I always thought it was, so I guess I need to get with the times.
Is it hot?
I don't know.
It's Haute.
Is it Haute? Okay.
You win.
Na.
Yeah. Well, we like to start off every guest with someone else's wisdom and actually go over a quote. And our quote today was provided by Jeff. It's a long one, but so let me see if I can try to get through it. We trained hard, but it seemed that every time we were beginning to form up into teams, we would be reorganized. I was to learn later in life that we tend to meet any new situation by reorganizing, and a wonderful method it can be for creating the illusion of progress while producing confusion, inefficiency, and demoralization. And
Wow.
that was by Gaius Petronius Arbiter.
In 60 AD.
That's right.
That's incredible. I mean, because I thought you were reading something that somebody who'd gone through like GE or IBM or something would have said, or TI perhaps. And no, it's a Roman guy. Or no, is that Roman? Or yeah, that's Roman. That's not Greek, is it, Jeff?
I think it's Roman, but don't quiz me on that later. I'm not sure.
So why is that a favorite quote of yours?
Well, I came through a large company, and I went through that pain of having to change the company structure every 18 months, and it seemed like, it's a very true quote. It gives the illusion of progress and makes it seem like things are changing, but it's rarely for the better, was my experience. It was just, again, the illusion that things were changing. And all it did is caused upheaval for the people really doing the work.
My wife was actually talking to one of her former coworkers yesterday. She came out of a large company, international company, and they had implemented this huge sweeping change to the whole company, worldwide, and they've already abandoned it. And it's not been 6 months. She was so happy she's not still there.
Well, Jeff, kind of diving in a little bit, I know your company specializes in innovation within the Christmas space. So what does innovation look like at Christmas time?
So that space in particular, there's not a lot of innovation. And, companies will come up with the next color of wreath, or maybe a blue Christmas tree or something like that. But true innovation is somewhat lacking there. So innovation is in that space is something that's really truly unique and new. Just to give you one example, we have an item to help make your stocking hang straight. This came up when I was trying to do a photo shoot with my stocking holders. I couldn't get the darn stockings to all hang the way I wanted to, and I was using tape and everything. And whenever I see something like that, it's like, okay, I'm not the only one with this problem. Now, not everyone's taking pictures for, brochures, but surely there's women out there who want all their stockings hanging just right on the mantle. So I came up with this little jingle bell looking thing that goes on the hook of the stocking, and you twist it, and it makes the stocking rotate in the direction you want.
Nice.
And so it's a completely new category. So that's just one example.
And it's not just women. Let me just tell you, I'll go on record. Little things like that sometimes just annoy me when I'm like looking. I'm like, that's not right. It doesn't look right,
Do you have your sock drawer categorized by color, Stephen?
No, by stripe and shape pattern.
All right. So Jeff, tell me, when did you first start inventing?
It goes back to when I was a kid. I think it's in my DNA. I have pictures that I drew when I was in 3rd grade of little windshield wipers on glasses and little machines dropping ingredients on pizzas going down a conveyor belt, and just all kinds of things like that. And
you'd actually put these on paper.
I put on, they were just fun drawings I did at the time. They were really kind of meant to be silly at the time, but it just gave you, when I went back to look at them, I had forgotten about them. It's like, so even back then I was thinking of, solutions, even though they're silly, crazy solutions. I was always thinking solutions to problems. I think I do.
Oh, wow.
I think I do.
Fantastic. You got to put those on your website.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, exactly.
So who do you guys sell to? Who's your typical customer?
Our customers are the large retailers. So we're in most of the major retailers. We're in Target, Lowe's, Bed Bath & Beyond, Kroger, Ace, just about everywhere, including Canada too. Canadian Tire, which is like the Walmart of Canada.
Very cool. So how did you get into those stores?
Well, I started out with rep groups. I didn't know anything about the industry. I'm not Mr. Christmas. It's not like I put Christmas lights up in the middle of August or anything. It was a product I wanted to launch, a stocking holder, this initial product I wanted to launch. And so...
Now, what's a rep group? Let me stop you for a second.
I'm sorry, representative. So I didn't know anything about the industry. So if you have a product, you can go to rep groups who regularly meet with retailers, or they go to shows, and you can show your product to them.
So it's like a manufacturer's rep?
Yeah, they're like a manufacturer's rep, and they'll represent it for you. They'll go to shows, and they'll show it to retailers. And they often have the doors open to some of these retailers too. So that's one way to get in. So I started with them, but most of them were fairly focused on the smaller mom and pop stores. And most of them, they'll do shows. There's these large Christmas shows throughout the country. One's even in Dallas. And they pretty much wait for the big fish to show up. So you stand there for hours just hoping that someone from Target or QVC or wherever will show up at your booth. And they just always struck me as odd. I just thought, I want to have a little bit more control over how this gets discovered. And so I thought, why not just go knock on those doors? But I wanted to learn the industry first.
Sure.
So the rep groups helped me get started. I learned the lingo. I got some manufacturing started. I worked with the smaller stores to, tweak packaging and things like that. And then one rep group did get me into Lowe's initially. And so that got the door open for the larger retailers. And then once I worked with Lowe's, I started just making phone calls to the other larger retailers.
And one thing that I thought was really stood out to me when I was before the show, when we were going through the information, is that you talked about how your customers are actually like waiting to see what you have. Like they're excited to see what the next innovation is.
Yeah. Like I said, there's not a lot of innovation in this space. I mean, there's a lot of interesting products, but as far as true innovation, coming up with a whole new category is very exciting for a buyer.
Sure.
They really get kind of tired of just seeing, okay, this time the wreath has berries on it instead of nuts, or something. They tell us these things. It's like it gets a little monotonous for them, and then when we come to them with something that no one's even thought about before. It's really kind of exciting for them. We've introduced adjustable wreath hangers that weren't made of plastic, and some of them are, it's an innovation to them. It's really it comes across as somewhat obvious to some people, but there's adjustable wreath hangers out there that they're all made of plastic. No one made one out of metal. We were the first one to make one out of metal, so it looks nice. It doesn't look like plastic. There are things for wrapping garland around your railing or holding your garland on railings, but it's mostly plastic and or Velcro. Well, we made something that looks like the garland. It's not rocket science, it's make it blend with the garland. It's been phenomenally successful for us. And that was so successful, we made one that looks more like a decorative rope. So it kind of, it just looks it has a nice accent to the garland rather than just using some utilitarian piece of plastic.
And I think that just goes to show, right? It's like the premise, like nobody wants to be sold, but everyone's looking for value and a bigger and better future for themselves. So you bring someone something really innovative that gets them excited. We're going to have a entire new category, a new way to earn revenue in our companies. I mean, that's something that's excited. I want to buy that, right?
So tell us that. I mean, what was the first product you made, in the Christmas space, and how did you come about doing that?
So in 1997, the first product I came up with was the mantle clip, and even up to that point, I had several product ideas. I have been writing them down since college, and this particular product, though, came about when my wife was trying to put nails into our brand new mantle. Oh. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that to hang our Christmas stockings. And so I said, well, let's just go buy some stocking holders. I hadn't even thought about the category before at that point. And I just was surprised at how they were all just these heavy, what I call anvils on the mantle. And I thought, people with kids, now we didn't have kids at the time, but I thought, people with kids, that's kind of a hazard.
It is.
And they're expensive. You pay $40 for a stocking holder. It's like, I'd rather spend that money on presents than stocking holders. And so, my brain just started churning. There needs to be more cost-effective, safer approach to hanging stockings without having to stick nails in it. And so that was how it started. I started with the original mantle clip and was very successful. And once you get the attention of all the buyers, in that space, a Christmas space, you have an incentive to come up with more Christmas products. And so that's why I just started on a roll with more and more Christmas products.
Well, it's interesting. I was actually out looking for something to hang the stockings in front of the fireplace on the mantle a couple of years ago, and I found one that I loved. It looks like a candy cane, and I bought a whole bunch of them. They're beautiful. And I didn't even realize that those were yours until I was looking at your website last night and realized, hey, wait a minute, that's just the same guy.
Yeah, it was actually the number one seller on Amazon.com in that space. In fact, we're usually like 7 of the top 10 on Amazon. Our products do really well there.
Wow. So tell us about selling online versus through the big box stores.
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to start their own business, a consumer product type of business, I highly encourage to start online. You don't have to come with retail packaging. Your requirements are a lot less stringent in terms of packaging and those types of things, and copy and selling online. It's great, including catalog. Catalogs are always looking for new products as well, and so it's just a lot easier approach. You can just stick your product in a cardboard box essentially, and see how sales go online.
Very cool.
So we're going to go to a break now, but before we do, how do you manage quality when you have a factory half the world away? Stick around to find out.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at TexasTenantRep.com. Again, that's TexasTenantRep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hi, this is Dave Leidy, president and owner of Spectrum VoIP out of Irving, Texas. And I certainly have enjoyed my time on the show today with Steve and Bob. And except I could have done this by telephone. There's not a single snack in the green room, guys.
Welcome back to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business. We're here with our guest, Jeff Kacines of Haute Decor. You can learn more about him at www.haute-decor.com.
That's Haute.
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 Learn it and love it.
I will. I'm in the know now. Hey, Jeff, I wanted to just talk a little bit. One thing that I know that you're really passionate about that I think is really interesting is the whole concept of low-risk entrepreneurship. You've come out and say directly that you're risk averse, and that seems to be at odds with the way most people view entrepreneurship. So would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I've purposely set out to kind of dispel that myth. I think you have to be all in, but that doesn't mean you have to quit your day job. Doesn't mean you have to pour tons of money into your idea. And there's, I think, a risk that people will use the kind of as a crutch that because they think they have to be all in, they feel it's okay to spend tons of money on buying product or doing product development. And I took the complete opposite approach. One of the reasons why I launched this mantle clip product originally, I had a whole notebook full of ideas because I thought it would be the easiest product to bring to manufacturing without spending a lot of money. It's basically a piece of metal that's bent in a particular shape. There's a lot of details behind that, but
Is that all?
That's essentially it. So there was no expensive tooling, and so that was a primary reason why I went to go towards that product. And then when I did the 2 test market stores, again, starting very conservatively, very slow, 2 test market stores in the area, I didn't even develop any retail packaging. We literally just put a little hang tag on each little clip just to see how they would sell in those 2 stores.
So what kind of store was it?
It's they're 2 Christmas stores, Always Christmas and No All Christmas in the area. They sell Christmas products year round, both located in Plano, and so that's the year round Christmas products.
So just low risk, one product, ease, and you still kept your day job.
Yeah, exactly. So money's important when you're launching a company, and so people who will quit their day job and start pouring all their money up front into launching a product, well, if that product's not successful, they're done. They have to go find another job to start funding things. So my suggestion is to continue working, use your money very conservatively. Don't go buy a bunch of inventory if you haven't had any sales yet. Even if you have to pay, $50 an item. Let's say it costs $50. In high production, it might cost $5 to make it, but it's going to cost you $50 right now. A lot of people make the mistake. Well, I have to go buy 100,000 of these things to get the volume, or to get the price right. But buy 100 of them at $50. Price it at $20. Just get an idea of where the price point needs to be, and is it going to be successful. It doesn't matter if you're losing money because you're only talking $500. That's much better than buying 100,000 units at $5 a piece, $500,000 worth of inventory, and then realizing I've got a dud.
So you want a proof of concept before you start dumping real money
Yeah.
into it. But what you just said is interesting to me because, I love Shark Tank, the TV show, and one of the first things that those people always say is, well, if you're not all in and you still have the day job, then you really aren't committed, and therefore I'm not going to invest in you.
That's right. I've seen that as well. I kind of cringe. My kids love that show, and they say, "Daddy, you should be on Shark Tank." It's like, I already got products on the market. I don't need to go on Shark Tank.
I don't need their money.
But it's a great show. But again, I don't agree with that. I think you do have to be dedicated. You can't just say, "Well, I'm going to watch a TV show tonight and not work my business." It was very hard launching my business. I wasn't getting very much sleep when I first started. I was working full time during the day, and at night I was off working in my other job. So. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. You really have to be dedicated to it, but that does not mean you have to pour all your life savings into it or quit your job to just go after your dream.
I think part of the other issue there on the Shark Tank, though, is that those guys that are wanting to invest, they want to know that they have the greatest shot at getting an investment, their money back, and they're not as concerned with the actual entrepreneur, whereas you're saying, you want to make sure the entrepreneur is going to be healthy and be able to pay their bills and live along the way.
That's right. And I think, you'll get to a point, and I got there. You get to a point where your business is growing so fast that your day job is just kind of interfering. And that's when you know, hey, I can step away from this day job. And I think at Shark Tank, they probably would say the same thing. It's okay to start something when you're working, full time and you pay for it, but you have to be committed enough that if it does start taking off, you're going to dedicate full time to it. But I just think you have to wait to that natural point where it's really taking over, your finances, everything's coming in through that business, and not really your day job's just kind of on the side.
And we work with a lot of emerging middle market companies in what we do. And so one of the things that I think is really powerful in what you're saying too is a lot of times what I see with someone's business model is early stage, you have a business plan, but a lot of times it evolves. The market's not exactly where you think that it is. Very rarely I see someone else the exact service to what they put in their business plan, if they have one,
right,
is exactly what they end up doing. They realize that they need, someone's like, well, I want to buy that, but I want a little bit of this service wrapped around it. Or I want, so it's, if you put all in on something and then you're wrong, like you said, there's a big, that's a big potential pitfall.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even with packaging, you might have the right product and you have a terrible story in your packaging. So if you bought 100,000 units and they're sticky on the shelf somewhere, and you actually get the attention of a reasonably sized buyer or a retail chain, they might say, well, we hate your packaging. So you've got 100,000 units, you're stuck with those 100,000 units. You have to figure out somewhere to sell those, or you have to go rework all of them, which is expensive. So
what's your biggest challenge with a business like yours?
Right now, our biggest challenge, and this has evolved over the last couple of years, but our biggest challenge right now are knockoffs and own brand products. And own brand products is the brick and mortar stores are really worried about competition by online stores. Obviously, Amazon would be the big one to be worried about. And so they want to have their own products in their store, so you can't take your phone, scan the barcode, and see where you can get it cheaper. Exactly. Because you can only buy it at their store. And we have a lot of retailers who want us to do own brand product, but it'd be in their packaging, their brand. And they actually end up taking a little bit more control. They treat you more just like a factory. And one of their factories. They want to see, all the costs. And so it's a little bit trickier to navigate. And so that's been a challenge. I mean, fortunately, we have a really good track record. Our products do really well. I have patents on several of the items. And so even if a knockoff shows up, it's I can usually go and shoo them away. But
so do you have patents on everything and trademarks?
Yeah, I don't have patents on everything, but on some of the key products like the mantle clip, I've got a patent on that. Candy cane stocking holder, I've got a design patent on that. So where I can, I get patents, and we establish pretty good business relationships with most of our large retailers. They see that we bring innovation to the market. So even if we don't have a patent on something, that doesn't mean they're going to go rush off and knock it off, because they see that we bring value to them. We bring other products to them that are truly innovative, and so they don't want to just kind of brush us off and treat us like a manufacturer they can go knock off.
So I have to ask, I mean, how in those situations, I mean, these are obviously potentially big customers, how do you handle a situation where there maybe is a knockoff, but you're still doing business with them?
Yeah, we had that exact situation occur twice at the same retailer. And so it was a little tricky to navigate. At the time, they were our largest account, and they had a knockoff show up on the shelf, and I had to politely remind them that, hey, this is a patented item. Now, fortunately, most knockoffs of our mantle clip product have all kinds of quality issues, and so it's an inferior product usually, and so that one didn't do very well, and ours was on the shelf next to it at a much higher price point, but we still maintained our sell-through and did very well for them. Okay. And we worked through their lawyers and very politely dealt with the situation, and we were able to maintain that relationship. I would suggest not calling your buyer and getting all irate and screaming at them. Oftentimes, especially in the large companies, there's so many people working behind the scenes that the buyer may not even be aware of that it's sitting on the shelf. And so that might seem unusual to someone to think that they might not know that. But they have different organizations working directly with China, and so they might just show them a product, and that person in that organization may not even have known it was patented. So it's not like they're just evil trying to knock you off. It's just the way the machine works. There's lots of people, lots of cogs. Some things get dropped, and so you have to just understand that they're not trying to just do harm to you. They're just trying to get something at low cost.
You mentioned quality. I mean, so how do you manage quality in a business like yours when you have a factory halfway around the world?
Yeah, that is one of our biggest challenges. Unfortunately, we have a person there full time in China who's watching over the factories, but it's still very tricky. You have to do all the industry standard testing. There's no doubt about it. You don't want to cut corners there. And the other thing you want to do is you want to come up with your own set of tests, things that, like a wreath hanger, you want to just put on a door and slam the door. You want to do things that, just get it in the hands of some users, do some field testing, and you'll be surprised at how many things might come up in those tests that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So, but it is one of our biggest challenges, and we always have something, something that just hits us by surprise, and we'll analyze it and look at, what do we need to do better next time? So, but we just always we always prepare for the worst, and we always feel like we can get through those situations when they do arise. But we always try to also put processes in place to fix it the next time.
So how do you deal with manufacturing where you have a seasonal product like Christmas? Now, you mentioned there's a couple of places where they sell it all year round, but I would imagine that the big box stores is really only stock it at Christmas. So how do you deal with manufacturing throughout the year when you're really getting all your sales at the end of the year?
Yeah, that's kind of tricky for us. We have one strategic factory that builds our product, and they build it year round because we have so much volume that they couldn't just build it over, say, a 3 months period. So they build year round, and you're right, we have to build almost 6 months of inventory before we have a single purchase order. And we look at our high runners, the items that are doing the best for us. We know that multiple retailers are going to carry it, and even if a large one decides to drop it, we'll have enough volume for other customers that it would warrant building the quantities that we build. So it is a challenge, and it was it's also a challenge for cash flow and making sure I'm buying inventory 6 to 9 months ahead of getting any payments for that product. And so it can definitely be a challenge, but we try to mitigate it by using the items, building the items that have the highest throughput or the highest shelf space in all the different stores, so that if one retailer drops it, another one will pick it up.
So what's next for you, Jeff?
I'm always trying to get. My biggest obstacle is getting enough time to bring my products to market. I've got a lot of product ideas that I'd like to launch. I just don't have the time, and so the wheels constantly churning. I'm always thinking of new ideas, always writing them down, and the challenge is just trying to find the time to execute on them and get them on the market.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest today, Jeff.
Yes,
we really appreciate it. You had a lot of interesting things that we haven't heard on the show before, so that's been really nice. If you'd like to learn more about Jeff's company, please go to hautedecor.com, HAUTE-DECOR.com. And hopefully by next week, Stephen will know how to say that. And if you want to learn more about the show, go to nextlevelshow.com. And you can also find us on Twitter, Facebook. Please like us on Facebook, like us on LinkedIn. And if you have any ideas for guests or questions that you'd like us to ask people, let us know.
Or if you just know someone that might benefit from listening to today's conversation.
Absolutely.
Help spread the word.
See you next week.
Have a great week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.